Today on Homeworthy, unlock the secrets to becoming the hostess with the mostest. Join us as we tour 3 beautifully curated homes of 3 seasoned homemakers. Discover their expert tips and tricks for crafting crowd-pleasing dishes and stunning tablescapes that will elevate your entertaining game. You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. On today's special episode of Homeworthy, we're bringing you to the Hamptons to spend the day with one of our favorite hosts, Stephanie Nass, who shows us how to pull off the perfect dinner party. As a culinary influencer, designer, and author of the entertaining book Swing By, Stephanie shares her expert inside tips on all things cooking and shows us how she sets a beautiful table. You won't want to miss this episode. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name is Stephanie Nass. Thank you, Homeworthy, for visiting me in the Hamptons. This is a very happy place for me. It's where I met my husband. It's where I have so many happy summer memories. And I love so many things about this special place. It's a really happy place for me to cook, and I'll be bringing you back to prepare a few favorite summer recipes that are very easy. We are making a tomato sauce pasta, and we are making a beautiful berry meringue dessert, and we'll also set a table. We had intended to go to 2 farm stands. We may get to 3 or 4. Each farm stand has beautiful specialty items, and then whatever we don't buy at the farm stands, we will get at Loaves and Fishes to round out my grocery list so that I can make my ideal summer party for you and share some ideas with all of you watching. Here we are at a very special farm stand, and you see behind the farm stand are beautiful flowers that you can also buy. We are going to get fresh tomatoes for the tomato sauce and some berries if they have them. So for the meringues, we definitely want these beautiful raspberries. And look at these blueberries, how big they are. Out here, there are farm stands on every corner. This area of the Hamptons is very agricultural focused, and it's amazing because we're also so near to the ocean. So you have this beautiful produce with the ocean air that tastes better and is even more gorgeous than you would find anywhere else. So these tomatoes are grown here, and they are going to be fabulous for my tomato sauce. The more red they are, the more excited I am about them. So I'm looking for the reddest ones. And it smells so good here with all the basil. Smell all that fresh basil? It's heaven. Wherever it says our own, it means the vegetables are grown literally here on this amazing land. You know, I have flowers for the table, but I always bring a napkin that I'm going to use for a dinner party to sort of match the colors. See, this is a totally different green, but this is literally a chef knit cotton dinner napkin. I kind of like this purple with it. And what I like so much about using vegetables on the table is you can reuse them. So if we use them as decor, we can later use them as a salad, and I love that. So maybe this lettuce will have a place on my table, and I love that lettuce really does look like a little flower. But we could also put out eggplant in little piles. I'm going to take 2 lettuces. This lettuce is really delicious, this red leaf lettuce, which is actually a very deep purple. And again, I like how it goes with my napkin and table color palette. So I'm going to buy this. Thank you. You know, there are so many farm stands, and each farm stand has a specialty. So if I'm just driving to pick up tomatoes, I'll stop at whatever farm stand is on my way. But if I want a duck, I'll go to Fairview Farms at Meacox. If I want apples, I'll go to the Milk Pail. If I want fried chicken, I'll go to Round Swamp Farm. It just depends on exactly what I need, but I come here as often as I need to. Thank you. Thank you, thank you. All right, off we go. Hello. Okay, so back to color matching my napkin because there are so many different greens, there are so many different browns, and I really want to get the right colors to correspond with the linens that I'm using for this dinner. So, all right, obviously no, maybe yes. It's like nice and creamy. I really want like a latte brown. I'm not seeing it, which is a perk of late summer. When flowers dry, they're like the dusty brown color I'm looking for. Yeah, this is definitely a better match than the pinks, but the pinks could be interesting. I love these. They're sort of like sunflowers, but they're a little more delicate. I love these velvety flowers. Sunflowers are such a summer classic. I've seen them with brown petals this summer, and I'm really obsessed with those. I love these little pom-poms and these beautiful zinnias. I tend not to buy mixed bouquets of flowers because I prefer to do the arranging myself, and always I'm like working around a color palette, and unless the mixed bouquet is like sent from the heavens, I need to do it myself. But I think I like what we got. Hi, I'm Stephanie.
Done.
Hi, I'm
It's like,
Barbara.
How
oh,
are
sorry,
you?
this is my Aunt Ellen.
How
It's
are
all, you should see
Stephanie.
the entire, I'm going to show you all of her.
You're so sweet.
She's on the cover of the magazine.
You're so sweet. Anyway, the book coming out, and so we're doing like a lot of promotion, and you'll see our wedding, doing so much
I'm
stuff.
so excited for you.
And so life changes so
Hopefully I'll
fast. See you so soon. Bye, bye, bye. All right, off we go. This is really like a small town, and I always see people that I know and love, which is like an added perk to being out here. We're at our next stop, which is Loaves and Fishes Market. Here we'll find specialty food items, some prepared foods. It's a real local favorite, and it'll help me complete my list for our party tonight. So as you can see, there are so many house-made specialties with vegetables, and they're really famous for their pastries. If you want to do a semi-homemade dessert, these meringues are ideal. And I buy them for the number of guests that I'm welcoming, and then I pour their amazing raspberry sauce on top with a little fresh fruit. So we'll do that, and then I'll get other things for the house, the cookies, the cakes, and then I'll get some chicken and other favorite things. So this food store was opened with the woman who used to work with Ina Garten at the Barefoot Contessa. So it holds a very special place in food and Hampton's history. This raspberry sauce is to die for. Can I get 4 meringues? We live out here all summer, and we come to the store probably once a week. My husband loves the pea salad. I love all of it. I love their frittatas. I love their soups. I love their desserts. And it's nice because it tastes homemade, but you don't have to always do all of the cooking. So as you can see, there's tons of hors d'oeuvres and sauces for you in here. I love the pea and broccoli soup. I always bring a dessert to someone's house, and if I don't cook it, I'll buy it here. I love the chicken cutlets. If we have guests, I might buy a frittata. It always depends, but everything is so good. Thank you. That's it. Thank you. Also, these brownies are unbelievable. Off we go. Okay, we're all set at Loaves and Fishes. We're going home. This road takes you directly to Ocean Road Beach, which is where I walk many, many mornings for exercise. When I arrive at the ocean and smell that fresh salt air, it's my treat. It's my reward at the end of a long walk. I wanted to show you, oh, drats, they don't have it today, but this is a little woman who puts out flowers. Oh yes, here. you want to grab that. So this is some individual who makes these gorgeous flower arrangements and sells them along with the tomatoes from her garden. How special is that? So Bridgehampton, where we are now, is really horse country. This is where the Hampton Classic takes place, and there are so many horse farms here. It's a very special place here because there's so much natural beauty. Now that we've got all the groceries, let me put them to use and make something delicious. Welcome to the kitchen. We are ready to prepare these delicious recipes. The first one is a new take on tomato sauce. To give you some background, I really only eat tomatoes at their peak. So that's right now, and they smell so good even when they're on the vine. I literally won't eat tomatoes November through March because they don't taste as good as these. These are like candy. And we've seen so many tomato sauce recipes where you're toiling over the stove with all these gradual steps. The sauce is boiling up and it's making a mess on your stove. This is an oven roasted tomato sauce recipe. So if you think about potatoes, roasted potatoes are more delicious than boiled potatoes, right? And we are going to roast these guys because I'm roasting at 425. We're gonna have a Maillard caramelization reaction. It makes the tomatoes their best. It takes them to their peak of flavor. And I'm also gonna roast half an onion to give it some sweetness. We're gonna blend it, and then we're gonna pour it over some pasta. So first, I'm gonna put on an apron. This apron came from our wedding. So we made this beautiful custom toile for our wedding. And on the toile, you see illustrations of me and my husband and our favorite places in the mountains, at the beach, in the city, our favorite foods. You have ice cream and lobster rolls, our favorite flower, which is hydrangea. And so I keep this apron in our kitchen so I remember our happiest day, our wedding day, and also I'll protect my dress. And I have a chef's knife and a tomato. I was pretty indiscriminate about how I chose the tomatoes, but the first thing I did when I got back to the kitchen was I put the oven on 425 so it could preheat. But back to the tomato, I'm going to turn it over to its flatter side so it doesn't move around, and I'm going to cut it down the middle. I'm going to cut off the top because I don't like this hard part. It won't taste good. It won't add anything. I'm just going to cut out, I guess it's called a pith. As I cut tomatoes, I'm going to put them on a baking sheet. Move those veggies from our garden. I'm going to line it with parchment. Parchment for me is a total cooking hack and a life hack because it means I don't have to scrub the pan and all the burnt and caramelized deliciousness that you might find on a pan. I'm just going to lay this here, and I'm later going to pick up everything, pour it in the blender, and the parchment paper makes it easier, plus less to clean up. And I'm going to cut the tomatoes in equal sized parts, but because the tomatoes are all different sizes, I'm just going to optimize for this size because this size is going to roast really nicely. And I am going to plop these tomato slices on the baking sheet. This isn't making cookies. When you make cookies, you need space in between all your cookie dough. With the tomato, it's not going to spread. So you can place them as close together as you want, but keep them all in a flat line. Don't pile them up because you want them to cook evenly. So I'm just chopping these. We're going to use as many tomatoes as fill the baking sheet, leaving a little bit of room to roast some onion. So I think that's going to be between 6 and 8 tomatoes. It's going to vary based on the size of your tomatoes. But also, sometimes when I make this recipe, I use cherry tomatoes, but this is all good tomato. And I'm going to save this, and it's not exactly the same size as the other slices. It'll cook a little faster, but this is totally fine and delicious to use. So plopping this all down. This is tomato number 1. Tomato number 2. But this is what in culinary school they call this a rough chop. It's just a rough chop. And you know, when you're making salad and the cut vegetable is the end product, it really should look perfect. But because this is all going to be blended, I don't really care about the exact shape of each slice. So I'm just doing this quickly because I want to get it in the oven to start roasting. I think we have enough room for one more tomato. And again, I think this is going to make like 4 servings of pasta. So if you were serving 8, you would just do 2 baking sheets, or 3, and then you have leftover, and no one's going to cry about leftover tomato sauce. To give the tomato sauce a little bit of sweetness, I'm going to also roast half an onion. This is a sweet yellow onion. I'm going to cut off the top, cut off the bottom. I made this dish for my husband and we both agreed it needed a little sweetness, but a lot of traditional tomato sauces literally include sugar. I'm not going to do that. The tomatoes this time of year are so sweet, plus onion is natural sweetness with additional flavor. So this much onion, I'm going to cut it to the size of the rest of the tomatoes, because if it's cut around the same size, it'll cook in around the same time. That's a lot of salt. And then I'm using my friend's amazing Greek olive oil. I'm not measuring the olive oil. I am pouring the olive oil at a speed that I feel is adequately oiling all of these veggies. So ready? I'm not going to stop. Okay. I'm going to take a wooden spoon and mix it up, but you see already this is a single baking sheet of prep, so I'm not making a big mess. When a lot of people make tomato sauce, it's like they cut and then they do this and then they have the garlic and then they have the herbs and it's like the wine, and this is very simplified, which is how summer should be. I'm gonna open this up a little bit because onions take longer to cook than tomatoes. But again, this is like around the same size. There you go. All the veggies are prepped. We are going to put this in the oven at 425 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 to 25 minutes, depending on when we see a little golden brown caramelization. That's when we know it'll be ready. All right. So the next step in this dish is putting a pot of water to boil for the pasta. It'll be salty water, and then when the sauce is ready, we'll make the pasta. So I'm not measuring out this water. I just know how much pasta is going in, and we're going to need water to cover all the dry pasta. So I'm imagining the volume of the pasta, and this will be enough water for that. And then again, I'm not measuring, I'm just eyeballing the salt. It's easier when I take off the lid. That's enough salt. And then I'm gonna put this water on high heat to boil. So the sauce is in progress and the dessert is gonna come together very, very fast. So now we can focus on the table. I know that I wanna do something with this beautiful lettuce. So maybe I'll just chop it a little and put it into bud vases. So here are some pretty little bud vases. I'll just fill them with a touch of water. This lettuce smells so earthy and good. So this is a little wet, but it's clean. And I'm looking at the diameter of these bud vases, and let's see. See how this looks like a flower and how sweet that is as an alternative? Let's see if I can tuck this in. This is the bottom of the lettuce, which is regenerative. So if I wanted to cut off the bottom here and put this in a ramekin by the window for a week or so, it would begin sprouting. And then from there I could put it in my garden and start growing my own lettuce. So this is not scraps. This is totally the opportunity to grow and have much more lettuce. So this I save. And this is also fun for children to do because they get to understand how vegetable grows. So both little heads are in this ramekin in sufficient clean water, and they will grow. So far I haven't spent so much money on flowers. These dried flowers came from the bush, and then the cabbage was just the cost of the cabbage. The only flowers I did spend money on were these. And let me put them in pretty little vases for the arrangement on the table. Madly in love with these vases. They, to the best of my knowledge, are only sold at a store in Palm Beach called Mary Mahoney. And I love that you can use them as candle holders or as flower vases. And I love that they look like an open flower in which you put your own flowers. So I'll fill these with a little bit of water. All right, so these to me feel classic and traditional, but they also have an Alice in Wonderland kind of magical vibe. And I'm just gonna trim the first flower. This is gonna be too short. So I need to trim the next flower a little bit longer because I want it to sit in the water. That looks like the right length. So I'm gonna trim a bunch of these to the same length. Now that I know, like this. And then, so I want them to face outward to sort of mimic the petals of the silver. And I'm not going to be fastidious about this, but where possible, I'm taking out the bottom leaves, because if the leaves sit in the water at room temperature, they'll develop mold, and then your arrangement won't last as long. So I'm just pulling off the bottom. And remember, I don't have to waste my time with the bottom of the whole stem, only the bottom of what I need. And I'm just poking these in to the bud vase. The bud vase has a nice narrow opening, so I don't have to do so much arranging. And then I have all of these around the circumference of the opening going outward, and then I'll put these in the middle to fill it out. This one is nice and straight. And then this, to me, I don't know how it looks from the side, is sort of the extent to which I want this done. And just so the next one matches, I'm going to do the first one same length. This is done. So I started my career as a caterer, and I found myself decorating tables and making custom linens and plates and other goodies for my clients. So I started making my own designs of tableware, and now my tableware business is my central focus, and I seldom cater. If I cater, I'm doing cooking classes in homeless shelters to teach people cooking techniques and then feeding everyone. Or around the holidays, I'm going on morning news and I'm demonstrating fun recipes and holiday ideas. But in terms of cooking, I mostly cook for my family and friends. And then I have a cookbook coming out, which is 1,000,000 recipes, but it's mostly for hosting dinner parties and things and other kinds of parties. And that is done. Beautiful. They still need 10 to 15 minutes. And my flower arrangements are all done. I can talk you through the other table components that we're going to use. These candles are some of our Baroque candles, we call them, and they are carved by hand, and I love this dark green. With the napkins, I'm going to do a bamboo napkin ring. It feels natural and outdoorsy and summery. So napkin, this is a thick cotton napkin, very starchy, and it's folded in quarters. And I'm gonna take this napkin, this bamboo napkin ring, and quickly pull one corner through it about 30% over the square. And then I'm gonna puff up the bottom, which is the front. I'm gonna make sure the more attractive side of the napkin is facing upward. And then that is that. So we're gonna set the table for 8. And here are my napkins with napkin rings. I love this pattern. It is so popular, this napkin pattern, and I find that it's lovely for all seasons, for fall, for summer, spring, all of it. So I love this, and it's just like a great napkin to keep in your home. It goes in the laundry, it goes in the dryer, you don't need to iron it. When it comes out of the dryer, you just fold it quickly when it's still warm, and there will not be a crease as you see in these. And then these are our cane chargers. So these are all woven by hand, and a charger is sort of the crown of a plate. And so we'll set the plate in the middle of this charger, and so you'll see this peak of this classic pattern, which we see like in chairs and in beds, but it's so fun to see it on the table as a charger. And we'll put our flowers, and we have a whole color palette here. You know, for our wedding, we did a long 28-foot cake down the middle of the table, and now everyone expects me to do sweets on the table, which I'm very proud of. So I also bought some mini pies from the milk pail, and this is a little apple crisp, a little mini. So we're gonna nestle these pies. This is apple crisp, and then this one is raspberry peach. We're gonna nestle these among the flowers and the candles. Wow. So I chose these pies because they weren't open-faced, and the color of the crust really matches the color of the napkin rings, which matches the color of the cane chargers and the birds in the pattern, and you know, it just ties everything together. And I just love bringing people back to their happiest moments, their childhood. And so I'm imagining people in between courses just taking their spoon and taking a little bite of pie. So my book is called Swing By, because that's often how I invite people to come over. And whether it's a formal seated meal or a casual gathering, I want people to come casually as themselves. And the book outlines so many different kinds of gatherings and events, some formal, some casual, but the Swing By title sort of encapsulates my hosting ethos. The guests don't have to bring much of themselves, because once they arrive, they'll be taken care of. And the book is available for pre-order on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, at your local bookseller, and maybe some others. Okay, all the solids, or most of the solids, have been lifted from this parchment. This liquid is very, very hot, but I'm carefully not going to waste it because it is so delicious. And as long as this side of the parchment is open, I'm gonna quickly and carefully grab the edges. Oop. And pour it all into the blender. And I want to squeeze all of this yumminess into my sauce. And I love parchment paper for so many things. When you're roasting vegetables of all kinds, broccoli, asparagus, it's just the best. All right, so this is everything we need for the sauce. I'll put the lid on. Ready to puree. I'm going to liquefy. I want it to be velvety. I want it to be so smooth. So this sauce is smooth. I think a major difference between home cooking and fine dining is taking that extra time to get a sauce really velvety, silky smooth. So I put this blender on the highest liquefied setting, so you won't see little chunks and, you know, little odds and ends mixed in. It all looks consistent, one color, one sauce. This is your tomato sauce. It is done. We are going to do this sauce on a rigatoni. The cook time for this is 12 to 14 minutes. I always trust the cooking instructions on the box because they've tried it a million times and they're right. So I'm gonna put, and we're at sea level, I'm gonna put the cook time at 12.5 minutes because we're gonna cook the pasta in the sauce so that it's fully stuck to everything. So the pasta is stuck to the sauce and the sauce is stuck to the pasta. So I'm going to put the pasta in my salty boiling water. And hey Siri, set a timer for 12.5 minutes. 12.5 minutes. A minute in, we're going to stir it. So I like a wooden spoon. I am very nervous about plastic because this water is hot and I don't want to put any contaminants in food I'm preparing. So I'm stirring it and moving it around before everything sticks together, and then I'll just let it sit. So in the time that the pasta is boiling, I'm going to completely do my dessert. I love pastry. Pastry is my passion. I normally have cookie dough in my freezer. I make heaps of it at a time, and then I separate it into pints and then freeze the pints. So every time I have a dinner party, I use 1 pint of cookie dough. And I'll do elaborate cakes, I'll do elaborate pies. But today I wanted to share with you an idea. So meringues are like a semi-homemade idea. And these are from Loaves and Fishes, as you saw. And you can fill these with salty caramel sauce and then put beautiful sliced apples for the fall. You can do whipped cream and sliced peaches. But today we're doing raspberry sauce and raspberries. So just think of a meringue as a hosting hack for berries, fruits, delicious sauces. You could do mixed berries, you could do stone fruits, you could do, more of a tropical fruit like a pineapple. But I love meringue as an idea. The difference between a meringue and a pavlova is a meringue is crunchy through and through. It's brittle. A pavlova is like marshmallowy and chewy on the inside. I prefer meringue. I think most people also prefer meringue. So you can make your own meringue cookies once you have the egg whites and you pipe them out, or you just dollop them out at a low temperature in the oven. They're very easy to do. But if you don't have the time, buy the meringues. You can buy sauce like this one, which already has defrosted, and then throw some berries on top. I also think that an individual dessert at a home dinner party brings your dinner party to another level of elegance, like you would find in a restaurant. So rather than doing a big dessert, this time I'm doing individuals. So I'll plan to give everyone their own. Here's the meringue, here's the raspberry sauce, and I'm gonna pour it over, and this should be done a la minute. A la minute in French cuisine means right before serving. So don't leave the the raspberry sauce in the meringue for hours. It's going to deflate. You should do it just before you serve it. And so here we are with the meringue, and then we'll add some cleaned raspberries from the farm stand. And you could put mint, you could put basil. This is some basil I have from my garden. And then this is the easiest dessert ever. That one is already done. Should we do the next one? But today I wanted to demonstrate something that wasn't going to make you pull your hair out. So again, if you want to see this close up, the raspberry sauce goes right in the center of the meringue. I'm going to fill it up nicely, just like that. And then I will add some berries. I like things in threes. 1, 2, 3. And then a little piece of basil. 1 little leaf, a baby leaf, a micro leaf. Boom. And that is your dessert. So people will eat this with a spoon. They could lift it up if they're feeling bold and eat it like a cookie. But these are very elegant and an easy summer dessert if you don't want to stand in front of a hot stove and oven for hours and hours. So these are done. Look, for Thanksgiving, you could even do this with cranberry sauce or and like candied cranberries. Wouldn't that be delicious? For Christmas, you could do something with chocolate. There are so many different variations of things to do with meringue. dessert took less time than it took me to boil the pasta. The pasta is almost done boiling, so I'm going to warm up the sauce. I'm going to pour my sauce into the saucepan over low flame. See, it's already bubbling. I need lower. I want it really low because I'm not intending to cook the sauce right now, just get it warm. And by cooking the pasta in the sauce, the sauce won't slip off of the pasta. It's another major difference between home cooking and fine dining. This additional step of cooking the pasta in the sauce. And if you really wanted to conserve pots and pans to clean, you could wait until the pasta is drained and do everything in the pasta pot. Okay, the pasta's ready. I'm gonna pour the cooked pasta, which is perfectly al dente, into the tomato sauce. And just look at this color. It's like orange. It looks like there's cream. There is no cream. You know exactly what's inside. If you wanted to serve tomato soup, the trolls on the internet might complain about this, but I don't see a reason why you can't serve this tomato soup as I made the sauce. You can serve it chilled with grilled cheese. You can serve it hot, but it is a healthy dish made from vegetables with a little seasoning, and it goes a very, very long way. Normally for pomodoro tomato pasta, you would do spaghetti, but I struggle serving a lot of plates of spaghetti at once because it's hard to plate it beautifully. I find rigatoni is easier to plate when you're plating many plates at once. There are rules, I don't know them. I like rigatoni, and it's easier in the hosting format most of the time. So this is looking perfect. I don't want my pasta to sit in a pool of sauce. So I'm gonna pull from the top, not from the bottom. And I'm gonna put the most beautiful noodles to the best of my ability on top. So I'm gonna pull and I'm gonna put everything right in the middle of the plate. There's sauce, but not a pool of it. Oh, no. Okay, we'll fix it. And I'm turning off the flame. Okay, so here's how I'm gonna fix it. I am going to allow myself to eat this one single noodle. And then I'm going to just wipe this down with a damp paper towel, as they do in restaurants. And I would say good as new. And we'll just garnish it with some fresh basil, which I'm picking from the plant, from my basil, whatever, just before I serve it. So there you go. This sauce is not heavy. It won't give you a stomach ache. It tastes like summer with the essence of tomato at its best. By the way, I said to show the prettiest noodles on top. I broke that rule. This noodle is broken, as inevitably happens sometimes in a boiling pot of water. But I love this sauce. I love using the oven when I host because unlike the stove where you have to work and crouch over it, the oven does a lot of the work for you. So while we had the tomatoes and onions in the oven, I was able to do flour arrangements. While the pasta was boiling, I was able to finish dessert. But again, back to the oven. The oven is your kitchen assistant, so use it as much as you can. So by the way, this is Chef knee flatware. I like that the handles take the shape of bamboo, but it's in a nice pearly white that's a little incandescent. You can use it with everything because it's like a creamy white and it matches with everything. So let's go set the table. All right, let's set the table. This beautiful breeze. Okay, so I always start with the chargers because they take up the most space in each place setting. I've already wiped down this table and I'm not going to use a tablecloth because I want it to have a more casual vibe, and I love a tablecloth, but this is just more earthy and different. So chargers down first. And I am careful that the plates are around the same distance from the edge of the table because, again, it makes a difference. And I'm just eyeballing to check the space and the placement of everything. It looks okay. And some traditionalists would insist on putting a plate on top of the charger. I'm going to do most of the plating in the kitchen, so we'll bring the plates of food outside. I'm just going to put the napkins directly on the chargers. And because of how I put the napkin rings on, there is a correct side up for me. It's like the poofier side, the fluffier side. That one got a little flattened. Puff it up a little. So these are flatware sets of 4. I don't know if in this box we have every piece, so I will gradually add it. The way you remember where things go, fork has 4 letters like left. It goes on the left. Spoon and knife have 5 letters, so they go on the right, like right. Right has 5, knife has 5, spoon has 5. And by the way, for dessert, when you put them on top, they go in the opposite direction of the other. So if I have a big soup spoon over on the right, this is going to face left. Easy to remember, huh? I'm just filling this out little by little. I really only need 3 pieces, but I'm going to put 4 just to cover my bases. I have 2 sizes of forks. So I'm just going to do these simple bistro cups. Again, they sort of connote casual and home and, you know, normal. Like you can just let your hair down, kind of whatever. I'm just also looking at how things are lined up, and I feel like I want to move some things because I want person A to speak to person B, and I want person Z to talk to person Y. Okay. And I'm gonna fiddle with everything to get it perfect. Did I miscount the number of cups? No. Okay, so you put the bread, B for bread. The bread goes on the left, and D for drink. The drink goes on the right. So I'm right, the drink goes there. We get 1 more cup. So when you set the table, you need to do these components first. The plates, the flatware, and the glassware. Because this is how you know how much real estate you have to play with in the middle of the table. So I'm going to start with my tallest, most central flower arrangement first, these hydrangeas from the bush, and then I'm going to build out from there. So let's do it. I like symmetry, so we're going to frame everything around this central hydrangea. Next we're doing candles. Next we have the lettuce flowers. They're not lettuce, well, they're lettuce dressed up as flowers, acting like flowers. Next we have the miniature pies, because you don't want these people sitting on the edge to feel discouraged that they weren't given the primo seats, so let them have pie. And voila, here we have a centerpiece that did not cost a lot of money, that incorporates the colors of the table, some local flavor, some local pastry, and it's not too tall so people won't be fighting with the flowers to speak to the person across from them. And I think we are all set. I love cooking and I love setting the table because I love setting the scene for a memorable evening of interaction, conversation, bonding, storytelling, laughter. And that's really what all of this is all about. The flowers and the pies and the sweets are all about people being together. So I have people arriving. Thank you so much for coming to the Hamptons. Homeworthy, you inspire all of us, and I hope I could share some of my ideas with you. Thank you for coming, and I'll see you soon.
On today's episode of Homeworthy, we're heading to New York City to visit Chelsea Fagan, CEO of The Financial Diet and author of A Perfect Vintage, as she prepares to host a French-style aperitif for her friends. Having lived in France and speaking French as her second language, she's inspired by the culture and incorporates its casual elegance into her life. Join us as Chelsea shows us around her home and shares some quick recipes perfect for your next gathering. Enjoy! You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi Homeworthy, I'm Chelsea Fagan here in New York City, and tonight I'm going to have a few friends over for a little aperitif, so come on in and help me set up. So one of my favorite things in my entire home, so this is the first home I've ever owned, which means it's the first time I've ever been able to do any kind of renovation. And one of the things I knew I wanted to do as soon as I bought this place was to build in a little bookshelf bar nook area for entertaining, obviously, but also for all of our books. And I had a really specific vision for what I wanted. And one of the things that was really important to me was a very whimsical and eye-catching and special wallpaper that kind of in and of itself looks like a piece of art, which I think this one does. It's heavily inspired by the wallpaper at the Carlisle Hotel Bar, Bemelman's Bar, done by very, very famous illustrator and writer Ludwig Bemelman. I actually have Bemelman's book, kind of a take on his time working in all of the really upscale fancy hotels here in New York City back in the 1920s. But he had just an incredible style. A lot of people know Bemelman's work from Madeline. And my father's actually an illustrator, as is my cousin. I have some of their work around too. So hand illustration has always been something that I really, really love. And so this wallpaper, although it is ludicrously expensive, for just one panel, I thought it was really worth the investment to sort of turn the bar nook into its own sort of living piece of artwork. One thing that I really love in my home, especially as it pertains to hosting and entertaining, are these highball glasses that I inherited from my grandmother. She was, in many ways, my icon, my idol. This is her watch. I wear it every single day. I have a lot of her stuff. Don't quite fit in a lot of them. She was much smaller than me, but she just had the most exquisite taste. She was an excellent painter. She always wore the most glamorous outfits, always perfectly coiffed, had the most incredible home style. She just was a woman that had so much to offer creatively. And I always think about her when I am sort of engaging in any kind of domestic creativity, because it really reminds me that for whole generations of women, the home and what we do with our homes was really one of the few areas that they had to express themselves and to sort of enact their vision. So my grandmother's highball glasses here, I very rarely break them out because if something were to happen to one of them, I could never forgive myself. But we do use them for very special occasions, and I have a lot of little pieces of hers throughout the house that, I don't know, they always just feel incredibly special and like a little homage to her every time I use them. One thing with setting the space too, when you're hosting, no matter the kind of space you're hosting in, is to really know the little touches that are worth investing in versus not necessarily worth investing in. One thing that I think always makes a huge difference is having fabric napkins. I love these little fabric cocktail napkins. They're from a brand called Cheffany. These were actually a gift from a friend. But those kinds of little touches are really the things that often make a huge difference when you're hosting. They feel really special, they make a big impact, but are usually not much more expensive and are also just better for the environment because you're not constantly throwing things away. In terms of setting up your space, I think one thing that a lot of people tend to think and put pressure on themselves for is that things need to be expensive or fancy in your home. I cannot stress enough, as someone who has always been pretty budget conscious, I've definitely had a lot of financial issues in my life, and am someone who doesn't feel comfortable spending a huge amount of money on things, especially if I'm not sure that I'll have them forever. I have almost literally no furniture or home decor items that I ever paid full price for, or that I got somewhere very expensive and fancy and designer. A lot of the items come from Facebook Marketplace, online auctions, flea markets, thrift stores, secondhand, literally found on the street. And that's kind of the secret with home decor, is that things like art and furniture almost never ever need to be paid full price for, because it's something that in general, if it's a high quality piece, is meant to last for years and years, decades on decades, and you can easily find often higher quality materials and better constructed pieces for a fraction of the price of new stuff just by being a little bit more patient. Another thing that a lot of people don't necessarily know, but I like to take advantage of, is if you are buying a more expensive piece, like this dining table I have, which is actually Jonathan Adler. It's mahogany and the base is ebonized wood with brass bearings. It's a really, really nice, well-constructed table. And I actually bought it for 60% off because I got it as a floor model. A lot of people don't know that in furniture boutiques and higher end stores, or even really any store, but I use it for higher end stores, you can just go in and buy the stuff that's been sitting on the floor. It will sometimes have like a few nicks or scratches, but you can often get it for 50 or more % off just because it's already been sitting on the floor. And I actually got it for 60% off, including delivery, which as someone without a car is enormous. So one thing that I really, really love in my apartment, so my debut romance novel, which is actually about a woman who turns old, dilapidated chateaus in France into hotels, which is a job that I would very much like to have. For the book, I wanted to work with some female artists and creatives that I really loved, and one thing I really wanted was an original oil painting for the cover of the book. So I actually reached out to an oil painter based up in Canada, Elizabeth Lenny, whose work I absolutely love, and I asked her if she would be interested in doing that commission. And not only did she do the commission for the novel, and it is in my opinion one of the most beautiful romance novel covers I've ever seen, but she also was kind enough to gift me the original painting. So this definitely has one of the most important little places of prominence in my apartment, and I just love looking at it every day. It's a piece I never get tired of. One of the reasons I feel like people don't host as much as they could or maybe should is because they feel like they don't have a space that's good for hosting. Now, every time I talk about my apartment online, it causes a flurry of debate because by some standards, I have a very small apartment with a very small kitchen, especially compared to like the average home size in America. But for a lot of New Yorkers, including some apartments that I formerly lived in, I do have a lot of space. But the point is, I have a smaller space than many. I think my home is like 825 square feet, and I host all the time. I literally had a 16-person sit-down birthday dinner party for my husband in this very dining room. And that's obviously kind of an extreme example, but I do think that a lot more homes could be hosting ready than people actually think. Another big thing for having people over is lighting. Now, I have been in some beautiful spaces that were lit like a dentist's office for an evening dinner party, which was really unfortunate because, you know, people don't always feel their most comfortable when there's really harsh overhead lighting. I think we've all had some pretty negative experiences in certain, you know, in certain mall dressing rooms where we just don't like the way that we look. We don't feel very comfortable. We don't feel relaxed. We don't feel beautiful. So creating diffused, warmer lighting is really important. A couple notes on that. One, in general, you want to, if you have a big overhead light, either turn it off or dim it. And you don't need a dimmer switch in order to dim lights. You can literally just get smart light bulbs that you can dim from your phone. That's what I have in all of my lighting. And I would say, generally speaking, you want to have at least a few different sources of light that come from different angles. So like table lamps, wall lamps, sconces, those kinds of things, so that people aren't just getting shone down upon. Another easy thing that I feel like is probably said a lot but can always be repeated is candles. I love having candles lit when people come over. I love a tapered candle. I love a pillar candle. I love all kinds of candles. It definitely also helps with creating flattering lighting. But do be careful about scented candles, especially when you're serving food. First of all, it can kind of conflict with the taste of the food, but also sometimes scented candles can be difficult for people's allergies, etc. So definitely try to have a few very neutral, unscented, maybe beeswax candles, things that you can light for the vibe, but don't necessarily change people's experience. Another little item that I really love, just because it's so cute and sweet and not something I necessarily would have bought for myself, but has such meaning to me, is this little bell that one of my oldest friends and her husband got for me after I threw a big dinner party for my husband. And I'm personally a little prone to giving a toast. I get, a little emotional when I'm having a lot of people I love over, and I love to, say a few words. And so I definitely was tinking my fork to my glass a few times, and my friend noticed, and she and her husband were like, she's gonna ruin her beautiful glasses. We have to get her a little bell. So now when I'm having a more formal gathering, I can just sort of ring the bell if I need to get people's attention, like call them to the table for dinner or, whatever it may be. And it has served me well. And I think it's just such a beautiful little object. It's a little brass pear. So as you can probably see in my home, I really love art. I am not myself super artistically inclined. I mean, I can sketch a little bit, and I do some more traditional art stuff, not very much, but a lot of my family are artists. My father is an illustrator his whole life, and my cousin is actually an illustrator. This is a piece that she did for me a few years ago. She's actually going to be illustrating a book that I have coming out next year that's actually about hosting. So I love getting to have a piece from her on my wall. But pretty much all of the art that you see, with almost no exception, I think, are all flea market, secondhand. I buy some stuff from museum gift shops when I like it. But for the most part, I've never really paid hardly any money for the art that I have, including, I have several actual oil paintings on here, but, I get them in random flea markets and thrift stores, and it's really just sort of about the art that speaks to me. But I also love having little pieces. Like I said, I'll get something from a museum gift shop, and some people I think can be pretty snobby about, don't have reproductions or don't have, prints or don't buy things off Etsy. And I really hate thinking that way, because ultimately I think you should have the art that makes you feel good and that you love to look at every day. And you should also know that they're not necessarily permanent things. You can have a framed concert poster that you liked or something that you found online. And if you get tired of it after a while, you can swap it out and maybe swap it back later. I also just love this lamp for no other reason than, it's actually from the 50s. I got it in an antique store upstate, but that is always just a very entertaining thing to be able to do when people are over. Another quick thing when you are setting up your space to have people over is flowers. Now, I personally am not super great at putting together floral arrangements. Like, I have my moments, but in general, I don't invest that much money. I always buy my florals from the grocery store. And one thing that I feel like is not necessarily like a tip or a hack, but it's something I live by, is that if you are not particularly good at floral arranging, you don't want to spend a lot of money on it, but you want something with a really big impact, just a bunch of hydrangeas. This is literally $22 worth of hydrangeas that I bought at the grocery store. All you have to do is just cut the stems and put them in water. And to me, they look very, I mean, first of all, to me, hydrangeas are always very Ina Garden coated, but also they just look impressive and done without really needing to do anything. One thing with hydrangeas though, and I have learned this the hard way from having many sad wilted hydrangeas, is that in order to keep them from like wilting and shriveling, you need to cut them on an angle, put them into hot water for like 30 seconds, and then put them into cool water, and then they will stay beautiful and fluffy forever. I mean, not forever, but you know. Another art thing, so this big pink sort of goldy green piece that I have in my entryway, which is one of my favorite pieces that I own and always kind of makes a big statement when people come into my apartment, is actually Facebook Marketplace. A lot of my bigger, more substantial pieces I got off of Facebook Marketplace. Now, I'm not gonna say that it was, you know, $50, it was still several $100s, but compared to what I would have paid buying this from a gallery or a fancy antique shop here in Manhattan, like, it's night and day. So I cannot stress this enough, especially if you live in a bigger city, urban metro area, what have you. Use Facebook Marketplace. It is truly life-changing. So the aperitif is basically a cocktail hour, although it really does not have to entail actual cocktails, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But basically it is just sort of that pre-dinner magic hour moment where you're gathering around some easy, simple foods and just having a glass of something with people you love. One of the reasons I really love it so much and encourage people to start embracing it in their own home is because it's a really perfect way to host more if you are not particularly into or good at cooking yet. I do love to cook, and there are times when I make elaborate dinner parties, but there are also a lot of times when I just really cannot be bothered and I'm not super interested in the actual cooking part of things. I just want to have people over and have a nice time with them. And the good thing about the aperitif is that you literally don't even need to cook anything if you don't want to. So my husband and I usually spend a lot of every summer with his family and our friends over in France. And when we're at my in-laws' house every single night around, you know, dusk, first of all, they eat way later in France, which my people, that is one thing I have to give it up to them for. I think I was like destined to live in Spain or something because I like a 9:30 p.m. dinner. But over there, the sun doesn't set in the summer until like 10 p.m. So around 7:30 is when you'll do the aperitif. And my mother-in-law is not only not that interested in cooking, she's also perpetually running late. She was famously late to her own wedding and is often walking in the door from being out windsurfing or on the beach, you know, minutes before people are arriving. And it is a core memory of mine, just her in the kitchen, throwing a few things together, opening a few bottles, and magically preparing everything minutes before the friends arrive. And so I really think having that sort of casual, sometimes even last minute aspect to it is what I think makes it such a great entry point to hosting. So one thing about the aperitif that is crucial is that it not be a lot of work. One of the biggest mistakes people make while hosting, and I say people meaning I've done this a million times myself, is create so much work for yourself that you are not able to actually enjoy your party. This is very common when you have people over for dinner, especially if you're doing something that involves a lot of cooking right before people arrive or right before they eat. And yes, sometimes you can splash out, do really big fancy recipes for, you know, a very impressive dinner party, but the whole concept of the aperitif, especially in French culture, is that it is extremely low effort, it's very casual, no cooking is necessary, and it's really just about enjoying each other's company. So oftentimes when I have people over for a quick aperitif, the cooking consists of me just like opening packages. Today though, I'm going to assemble a few things just to give you an idea of the kinds of things I like to make when I have a little bit more time, like I'm not just coming home from work. And the concept with these is that they are extremely low effort and easy, but extremely sort of high reward. So I'm gonna be assembling a little cheese and charcuterie board. I mean, listen, it's very impressive. People love to walk in and see a board, but it's literally just putting things on a plate. I'm gonna be doing my cacio e pepe fried olives. I have found personally that when you put cacio e pepe in front of basically anything, people go crazy, and fried olives are one of my favorite dishes. I know olives can be polarizing, but for those of us that love them, fried olives are genuinely a revelation because they take basically no work and are so impressive. I'm just doing some little charred romaine lettuce hearts with a little lazy girl aioli that I'm making. Putting a little char on your vegetables, especially in the summer months, is just such an essentially no effort way to make it feel a little elevated and like you're eating it at a restaurant. So we're gonna go ahead and make that stuff. So the first thing we're gonna start by making is our fried olives. So in general, whenever I fry anything, I always do the breading beforehand, oftentimes the night before, for no other reason than I hate breading things. It's very time consuming, it's kind of messy, and it's usually not something I have time for right before people walk in the door. So in this case, I breaded these olives this morning. Basically, all you do is you drain your olives, you pat them a little bit dry, make sure there's not a ton of olive brine left on them, dredge them in a little bit of flour, put them in a little bit of an egg wash, and then roll them in the breadcrumbs of your choice. I usually like to do panko, but you can do whatever you have on hand. And this method works for fried olives, for my beloved fried pickles, fried pickled okra, literally any kind of pickled or brined little vegetable you want. Now, one thing to keep in mind when you're making fried olives or pickles or things like that, do not season the flour or the breadcrumbs. I know this is very difficult for those of us who like our food well seasoned, but olives are incredibly salty. So although we're putting a little bit of cheese on them at the end, which is also a bit salty, we generally want to avoid adding salt. So now that these are fully breaded, literally all we have to do is heat up some oil and then fry them off. So all I'm doing is just adding enough oil to coat at the bottom of my Dutch oven. Any heavy bottomed pot will do. I'm gonna put that to a medium-high heat, and all we have to do is let it get hot. So while the oil is heating up for my olives, I'm going to char my romaine lettuce. And literally, what does that mean? Just basically burning it a little bit. I basically just heat up a cast iron skillet, and you just put your little lettuce down or whatever vegetables you're charring, and then just let them get a little bit blackish brown around the edges, and that's it. So while we're charring off the lettuce, we are going to make what I sort of half-jokingly refer to as my lazy girl aioli. Aioli is also something that we eat a ton of in France. There are different sort of regional cuisines, but where my husband's family is from in the Southwest, they eat a lot of aioli. And what I'm going to make is not technically an aioli, because an aioli is not just garlic and mayonnaise. And please, chefs, do not come for me. I know what I'm making is not actually an aioli, but again, the point of the aperitif is that this stuff is very quick and easy and something that you can make in a matter of minutes. And so I am using my little cheat code. So literally all I'm gonna do here is just scoop a little bit of mayonnaise into my preferred vessel. Maybe a little more. I like Sir Kensington's. I know some people are big on, they have a lot of loyalty to like Duke's mayonnaise. That's good too, but I also like Sir Kensington's. So then I'm just gonna take my lemon, slice it here, squeeze a little bit of lemon juice onto it, squeezing it through my fingers so I can catch any seeds. I like a very lemony aioli, especially in summer. Then we're just gonna take a clove of garlic. We're gonna smash it here so that we can easily peel off the skin. Then literally all we're gonna do is just microplane our garlic. So we have our garlic and our lemon juice, and then I just do a little bit of salt. All of this is to taste. I only used 1.5 cloves of garlic. You can use a lot more. It's completely dependent on how much you want. But you just mix those 3 things together and you have quote unquote lazy girl aioli. So here we have our little charred romaine leaves and lazy girl aioli, something that took approximately 45 seconds, but feels incredibly impressive. So now we're just frying off our olives in some hot oil, and to make them cacio e pepe, I'm just going to microplane some pecorino and crack some pepper onto them. So on every batch, I just microplane a little bit of pecorino and crack a little bit of pepper. So 2 things with the kind of olives you'll want to use here. Number 1, make sure they're pitted, because no one wants to pop a piece of fried food in their mouth and accidentally break a tooth. And number 2 is I usually like to use a Castelvetrano olive because they're a little bit milder. They have a nice nutty flavor, not too overpowering, but use any olives you like. now I'm going to set up my little cheese and charcuterie board, and I have to say, whoever invented these is truly a god, because there is literally no easier thing to do that feels more impressive and exciting to walk in and see. I don't have a ton of rules for my cheese boards, and I am always using different ingredients because I just sort of use whatever I happen to have on hand. But two things that I think always make it a little bit more impressive is utilizing all of the space on your board or plate, not leaving gaps in between things. And one secret to that is like put your crackers or bread also on the platter so that it takes up more space. And I always like to garnish with like a little bit of fresh herbs or something because it makes it feel finished. So I generally start my cheese boards by placing my cheeses. And you'll notice here that these are not new cheeses, they are used, some of them, in part because, like I said, the point of a cheese board is to use the things you have. Sometimes I feel fancy and I pre-cut a few slices from each block, but I'm too lazy to do that. So then essentially with everything that is not a block of cheese, I just start arranging it. And I'll usually do little clusters of different things. Cheese boards are an entirely vibes-based art form, so just do whatever feels good. If you look at your cheese board like a bouquet, and why would you? But if you are, my favorite filler flower is fruit. I love fresh fruit on a cheese board, not only because it's extremely cheap and I usually have some on hand, but it's also nice and light and refreshing compared to things like heavy cheeses and charcuterie. So today I'm gonna put on some apple slices, and I always put a little lemon juice on my apple slices to keep them from going brown, as well as some raspberries. I never like to be too symmetrical with my cheese boards. I always like to sort of make them a little abstract, if you will. Normally I would also put olives on my cheese board, but as we are having fried olives, I won't be doing that today, but I do have some cornichons. How French. I actually find raspberries to be a bit of a textural nightmare personally, but I know other people love them, so I like to include them. Another really good filler is nuts. Here I'm doing some raw almonds, but you can do whatever kind of nut you like, and they're great for just filling in space. Then, like I said, I also like to arrange the crackers on the plate when I have space, just to fill it and make it look really bountiful and beautiful. Of course, I always give it a little fresh garnish. You'll notice that my plates and glasses and some other things are going to be a little mismatched today, but again, that's the point of the aperitif. I'm not going to waste time worrying about cleaning things if I don't have a full set all clean at the same time. I'm just going to use what I have. I always prefer to set up a drink station. I usually have a few options, including a signature drink, which I generally make something that you can either choose to spike or have it virgin, as well as another one or two options. And then I just set them out so people can serve themselves. That means they can have whatever they want without declaring their preference, and also means you get to enjoy your party rather than acting as your own bartender. Also, on the tip of, good art coming from anywhere, I get more compliments on this piece in my kitchen than almost anything else in my home, and I literally bought it for $4 on Etsy and printed it out at a local UPS. So the first part of setting up my drink station is just clearing off this little credenza here. It's a really nice location for a drink station because it's between my kitchen and the dining room, and it's perfectly accessible for everyone. So I put out my glasses. You may notice that these are slightly mismatched glasses because I don't have a full set clean right now of 6 / unbroken. But that's, again, the whole point of the aperitif. I have a little bowl of ice. Then I'm going to set up the actual drink ingredients. Now, the base that I made for the drinks is a fresh ruby red grapefruit juice with some homemade rosemary simple syrup. So that's the base of the drink. If you want to make it a cocktail, you can add a little bit of Campari and gin, and then both the cocktail and mocktail versions will be topped with sparkling water to make it kind of a spritz situation. I'm also going to put out a skin contact wine in case anyone would prefer that over a spritz. One thing I always do for my drink stations is make a little garnish station so that people can also garnish their own drinks and make them feel special. For this one, I am doing fresh rosemary and some grapefruit slices because those are two things in the drink. And now I'm just gonna put out a few cocktail napkins. And I always recommend fanning out your cocktail napkins. It just feels so much more special. And that's my drink station. Now let's make a cocktail. So I'm going to make the cocktail version of my signature drink for the evening, and that's gonna be Campari, gin, the rosemary grapefruit juice, and some sparkling water. She's a bitter queen. So we just have a tiny bit of Campari here at the bottom, and you're generally going to do about 1 part Campari to 2 parts gin. And then we're going to add as much grapefruit juice with the rosemary simple syrup as we like. I do roughly an equal part juice to as much of the Campari and gin as I've already added. Then we are going to top with sparkling water to make her a spritz. Then we're just going to give her a quick stir and we'll garnish. And there she is. But setting it up this way means that people can make it however they like, and they can choose to spike or not to spike, or maybe even have some of that skin contact wine, whatever you prefer. And we're just in time. My friends are about to get here. So here we have a full aperitif. Now, I chose to do a little bit more than just opening things up today, but trust me that I have thrown many aperitifs that involved opening a bag of chips and putting a bottle of wine on the drink cart. Ultimately, you should make it whatever feels right to you, but the whole point of the aperitif is that you don't need to have some big fancy dinner party in order to have people over. Like I said, my friends and I are actually going to dinner at a local restaurant after we enjoy this, so there is very little pressure on me and almost nothing to clean up. And because people are serving themselves their food, drinks, and water, it means I can just enjoy the party and not have to worry about taking care of everyone. Thank you for joining me in my New York City apartment for a somewhat French-inspired aperitif. It's been really fun, but I think I hear my friends, so I'll let you guys go. Bye.
Welcome back, Homeworthy. This is Courtney Pettit in Dallas, Texas, and I'm thrilled to have you back at my house. Today, I've set some spring tables for you all to see, and we are going to set one together for dinner tonight. So come back in and we'll take a walk in my backyard and get into the house.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story. Before today's episode, click the join button below to support all of the storytelling we do on this channel. Our growing community of members help to directly fund more videos so we can capture these extraordinary homes from around the world. So join today to receive early and exclusive access to new Homeworthy videos.
Hi, my name is Courtney Pettit, and we are in my home in Dallas, Texas. So today I'm going to take you into my home and show you some ideas on how to decorate surfaces for spring. We're gonna start in my eating area where we're gonna set a table for dinner, and then we're gonna go into my closets and search for some things to set that table. And then I'm gonna take you out to the pool house and show you a pool table, and then into the entryway where I can show you how to bring flowers to life and make you feel like you're walking into a field of flowers when you're walking into a home. The love of tabletop came to me as a child. So when we would go to my grandmother's house, she always had very formal dining room table. She had her crystal out, she had her silver out, she had her china out. And even as a young girl, I remember sitting at the table and was enamored with the linen, the silver, the crystal, and all sort of the bling that came with it. And that manifested into what I've curated and collected today. And what I like to do is to bring that sort of back to life for my children and give them that same experience that I had with my grandmother, and use her things and bring them to the table with us so that she's a part of our family today. If you don't have something passed down, I was fortunate to have that, and so I started with a great, what I say, base. But I've also collected over time to add to that base. What my grandmother's taste was, she had a very refined and defined space, which was, she liked fancy things. She liked the crystal and the silver. I was fortunate to start with that base, but over time, I've gone to secondhand stores, Facebook Marketplace, people selling things on Instagram, estate sales, auctions, to continue to collect and curate my own collection and add to that base. Collecting and curating, unfortunately, does come with time. If you try and go all at once, you're not gonna find the best piece, or you're gonna get a bunch of one set of something. And I actually think the best things are incomplete sets. To buy 8 dinner plates or 12 dinner plates, but you don't need the salad plates with it and the bread plates and the saucers and the teacups. I think you can focus on curating and getting different sets of china and blending it all together so that you don't have a bland table. But that takes time. Just like if you want to go into the secondhand shop, or sometimes there's great stuff in it, sometimes it's a miss and you walk out with nothing. It takes time, it takes frequency. So we are in the solarium today, and it's one of my favorite rooms in the house to serve dinner for the family. You can see here we just have a plain tablecloth, and we are going to be setting the table together after we go into the pantry to get plates and napkins and other items that we'll set the table with. Reason this is one of my favorite rooms is to eat in is the light in here. You've got this peak at the ceiling. It's a nice round table. I like to eat at round tables. And this room was actually, before we made it into an eating area, was really just a passage through to the garage, and it was a greenhouse. And so we've taken the greenhouse and enclosed it and made a planting area, which you'll see in a little bit. And this is a place that we get to and from the garage, but also a place that we frequently eat dinner as a family together. So now we're going to go into 2 areas where we're going to get some of the plates and napkins. Let's go get them. Now we're in the entryway to the house. This was actually one of the reasons why I bought the house, was for this room, and you'll see why in a little bit as we pull out some of the plates and some of the napkins that we're going to set the table with. But first I wanted to show you another tabletop, although it's not one that you're going to eat on. This is the entryway table. Right now, flowers are pretty easy to get, pretty cheap to get. You can go to Trader Joe's. And what I wanted to do is have you all come in and really feel like you were part of a garden coming into the house. So spring table. All these are, it's collected Wedgwood vases that I've collected over the last 20 years. I love the blue Wedgwood, the Jasperware, and just went to Trader Joe's and put some tulips in here 2 days ago, and now they're all in bloom for you all to see, and wanted you all to feel like you were walking into a garden as we were setting the table in here. So one of the things that I love collecting is Wedgwood Jasperware, and you can see all these different pieces on the table that I've been collecting over the last 20 years. This was not something handed down to me, but these are things that I found in some of those secondhand shops, flea markets, estate sales. And if I see them, and I know that the price is right, because they do vary in price, sometimes you'll see them for $15, sometimes you'll see them in upwards of $100. If you get them and the price is right, I will grab them and I'll snatch them. And this is one of my favorite ones just because of the shape. I don't know, I love the unique design of the shape and feel that it's a little bit different than just some of the round vessels. This one here I love too. just because it has sort of the Greek mythology scene on it, and it has all the intricate detail, and it's a little creamer. So they're just really fun. You can get them anywhere. You probably see them lots today. eBay, secondhand shops, estate sales, and just make sure that you price them so that you get one that's for a fair price and that's not overpriced. So let's look now at one of the reasons why I bought the house. It's centered on this room, and here's why. So you all know I have a lot of different pieces of things that I got handed down and lots of different linens, and I'm going to pull some today. But the house had all these like lovely drawers, and I filled them with linens I've had passed down for me. So you can see that these are a bit, antique linens, or these are my grandmother's, the ones with the C. These are ones, they're really pretty. If you look at them, they're just drink napkins, and then these are actually napkins that you put your stemware in. So you put the base of your glass into that. So very old ones that were passed down to me that I put on top. You can see I have some here, they pull out. This is where I've got some of the monogram ones, and I like to organize them by type so I know what I'm getting. We're actually going to take these today for dinner because I like these. I like the blue and white. I think they go with the butterflies on the table, so I'm going to grab 4 of them. From Marigold Living. She's a lovely woman from India, and my former work colleague is her niece, and she's just phenomenal. She's a woman-owned business, and she's done a great job building it out. And if I am purchasing things, I always like to support women-owned businesses that are starting their businesses out. So we're going to use these today. You can see the pretty blue and white sort of looks like china, and then I've got C and P for my initials that are embedded in white. But these drawers right here, all just, full of the linens. You can see like these are my mom's linens, these yellow ones. They were plain though, so I had my friend monogram them. I like to monogram things if they don't have something interesting on them. They just make for a more dynamic, fun, layered table setting, but it doesn't always have to be monogrammed. It can be, like here, a hydrangea or whatever you want to put on it, whatever is meaningful and thoughtful to you. These right here are just C's. And I had my daughter make them during COVID because she likes to stitch. She was bored, and she made these for me during COVID. So it's easy. Sometimes you can just buy like cheap Sephora napkins or inexpensive napkins on Amazon and have somebody embroider whatever, or monogram, whatever you'd like to put on there that's meaningful for your table. So we got to get some salt and pepper shakers. And again, I'm a collector of things. I'm a collector of salt and pepper shakers. I think because we're doing a spring table, I'm going to go with the theme of these green frogs, or these fun green and white frogs. I got these in an estate sale, actually just down the street a couple years ago, but I've got a bunch in here. You can see asparagus. I like pigs. I have a dog, and so we have a dog. And I do like to do a theme table as well. If it's Christmas, I'll do the nutcrackers. If it's Valentine's Day, I have Hershey Kisses. I've got, everything's in there. And we'll put that here for right now. And I also want to get some of the spring glasses. These are fun ones. So I keep my stemware in here as well as pitchers. And what we're going to do today, because we're going with the spring table, is, I think I showed you all these before actually, but they're so fun. They're glass. You can get them on Amazon. They're little mockingbirds. And I'm going to get 4 of these to set for the table. We like to put straws in them, and I like to put lemonade in there because the girls like to drink lemonade with dinner sometimes. We can have all these accessories, but we still have to have our plates to eat from. So we're gonna go over here and get our plates. Again, lots of plates, and you may look at me and say, is this a plate store? It's really not. These are a lot of things that were handed down to me and that I've collected and curated over time, either through stores that I've purchased at estate sales, or, this is china that I had when I got married. I registered for it. It's a beautiful Heron Queen Victoria plant pattern that I love, and I didn't get necessarily everything, didn't get it completed when I got married, so over time I've collected the pieces and purchased more at auction when I thought that it was a great price and much better than you could buy at retail. So I've built that out over time, but we're not going to use those because it's not a fancy dinner tonight. We're going to go more casual. I'm actually going to take 4 dessert plates. These are meaningful for me. These were actually my grandmother's, and I remember when she got them with my mom in Chicago, at a store there. And what's fun with these, they were made by Gloria Vanderbilt, or designed by Gloria Vanderbilt at the time. So she didn't just do jeans. I think she also did china during the 70s as well. So we're going to use these fun green and pink plates for the spring dinner tonight. So I'll grab that, and then 4 dinner plates right here. So now we're going to get some silverware. I have lots of sterling silverware that I started initially when I got married over 25 years ago. And again, I've built that collection over time, where my mom as a gift would maybe give me a fork or give me a knife, or I've been to an estate sale and saw that pattern that was available and at a much better cost than what it would be retail. So I've built that collection over time. So tonight we're just doing simple. Remember, I don't cook. We're just going to do a simple lasagna. All I need are forks. So I'm just going to get 4 dinner forks. But if you look here, you're going to see I'm very particular about how things are organized in here. And I'm very particular about keeping count of things, that they go in the right place. You could maybe call me a little bit obsessive compulsive. That's who I am. So you can see in here I've got sticky notes so I know where they go, number 1, and then how many I have of each, so I know what the count is. That way, if I'm having parties or I can't, there's a party or somebody's putting things away, they know exactly where to put it, and then I know what the count is. So if once something's missing, I know it's in the wrong spot, and I go and look for it, and then I have it. So it's really just a memory game for me, because I'm getting old and I need to know the count of things that I have. So now that we've got all the supplies for the table, let's go set it. Let's go ahead to the solarium. I'm always on the hunt, and there's always space. Like I said, I have 2 daughters, and in my mind, I'm curating things for them and their families. So I always think there can never be enough, because there's 2 of them. Plates stack. So plates stack, and they're easy to store. The key though is storing them in a place where you can actually see them, because if you see your things, you're going to use them. I remember when my grandmother passed away, my mom had boxes and boxes of things in the garage that she did not use, and she was saving for her girls to pass down, me and my sisters, and she never used those things. And they sat in boxes for probably 20 years before we actually started using them in our own homes and were old enough to actually use them. And I remember thinking back to myself, what a shame that was not to use them that my mother didn't use them, but they were in boxes away. It's because she couldn't see them. She probably lost sight and didn't know that they were actually there, which is why it's important to me to have things out and use tabletop items as decorative pieces in the home as well. I'm going to be honest, I don't love to cook as much as I love to set a table. There's only so much time. I only have so many strengths, and baking is not one of them. I'm fortunate that my husband does like to cook. Alternatively, I can cook up and heat up a mean frozen lasagna and put a salad together. But cooking's not my forte. I like to focus on the front end of the meal and leave the actual meal to my husband. So now we're in another favorite spot in the house. One, there's snacks in here, and it's where we keep our food, but it's also where I keep some seasonal ceramics and other things that I use for entertaining. So we didn't change anything in here when we moved into the house. This is exactly how it was. We just painted it brown. And I thought, we don't have enough food to put into all of these spaces, so why not put some of my china in here as well and use it as decorative pieces? So it may be an area you see here that has food, and it is. It's our pantry, but I've hidden the food. So I'm trying to make a pantry as pretty as possible. So let me show you a couple things. A lot of green here. You'll see the plates that we set the table with for dinner, that we're going to be setting the table with for dinner. These are the saucers that went with us from the Gloria Vanderbilt set. Again, she wasn't just jeans, but she did china too. A lot of these pieces I got at estate sales. You can see the geese right here. The snail is a soup tureen. You'll see I collect soup tureens. My mom's was the cabbage with the little squirrels on the side. A friend had given this to me. The green plates are the Dodie Thayer that Tory Burch sells, that line there. And these watermelon bowls are really fun. They're fun for summer. I have 2 of them. I actually use them for salad or for watermelon in the summer. And I got these at estate sales, I think for like $5 each. So they're fun. You can see I have a penchant for animals, like frogs, anything that brings some spring in. Cabbage bowl I have down here. And these plates are really fun. We use them for dinner a lot. They're cabbage plates. I think I actually got these at Walmart several years ago. They're buffet plates. So you can go high-low. You can get high-end stuff. You can go to Walmart and get really pretty things as well. One thing my mother always told me, and I'll never forget this, we were at a dinner party and people served, the host served the dinner on paper plates. And my mom had said to me, do me a favor, do not ever serve guests on a paper plate. You can go to Walmart, you can get a plate that costs 50 cents or whatever that is, probably cheaper than the cost of what a paper plate would be. You're helping the environment and you can reuse it again. Do not use paper plates. It shows your guests that you're not caring about them. And for whatever reason, with my mother, that stuck with me. And so as a result, now I have a lot of plates. Right through here, you can see in these drawers that were here, that's where we keep, snacks for the kids. I keep a snack jar up here as well. This tureen, it's sort of the tureen collection that I love is a pig. It's Fitz and Floyd. My friend Sam has a shop up in Chicago called Trading Treasures, and it's a resale shop essentially. It was there, and I'm like, this thing is gorgeous. It has asparagus and onions on it. It's sort of like a pig stew. This plate back here, I got at an auction. John Roselli was selling part of his estate. It was stair auctions, and so anything from John Roselli I'm attracted to, and I bought that. This is a pretty just chinoiserie green tray I got at Williams-Sonoma. Silver set that was my mom's. I've got a Santa punch bowl that I use obviously around the holidays. He's sitting here because he's too big to go anywhere else. That's become his spot. Up here, I've got a lot of the serving pieces for my wedding registry, the hair end. You can see I've got more tureens. I have a compare set that was a wedding registry gift. I keep the bowls and cake plates up on top. Just there's no room to put them anywhere else. And then over here, again, I just have some of the everyday china that we pull and we eat from. So rather than stacking it, I have it on as display. So a lot of shelf space. I don't have that much food. We're only a family of 4. And so I decided to use the space that would normally be here for food and for a larger family for my things that I want to display. My china, my plates, the pitchers. And for me, what's great, again, I can see it. And if I can see it, I'm going to use it. So while you may see a supply of Diet Cokes and LaCroix and Horizon organic milk, it's next to these pretty things. There's a lot of favorite pieces that I have in the closet, but one of them up here is, probably you can see it, it's a Mary Hadley pitcher with a pig. It's behind there. The reason I love that, when we were younger, in the corner cabinet of my kitchen growing up, we had these sets of plates. So we had mugs and plates and bowls that we used when we were little kids. And my sister got these for my 2 daughters when they were born, and she had them made. And they're fun. Like you can see, this is Victoria's. It's a frog on this side with her name on this side. And then at the base, at the bottom of the cup, it says Ribbit. And you can custom make them, all gone. I just think they're really cute. They're nothing fancy. They're made in Kentucky, Mary Hadley. I don't even actually know if they make them anymore. Maybe at certain shops they do, but they remind me of my home growing up, and I wanted my children to have the same ones that I had. Another thing I have in here are these copper pots. My mom had tons of them and had them all over the kitchen. Again, you can see these ones are in really good condition because they're not getting a lot of use for me because I don't love to cook, but they're out here on display because I think they're pretty and they remind me of my home growing up, and so it gives me comfort in seeing those things in my home today. A couple my other favorite things in here that I love. Clearly, I love hair end. I love anything hair end, and I think you can use it for anything. And you'll see how we use a couple of the pieces on the table that we're going to set. You can put candy in here. It doesn't just have to be, formally this is for sugar, for a tea set. I'm not having tea very often and serving formal tea and putting sugar in here. You can put paper clips in here. You can put candy in here. Really decorate any table with the things that you love. So this compare set, My mother, when I was getting married, she said, you need to have a compare set and register for it. It's an old French pottery company, really, really beautiful. And there's different patterns. There's blue and there's yellows. And so I initially got this tea set, and you can see the tray behind it. This was the new one that I got that was, it's now 25 years old, which is pretty. And then I actually saw at a house sale or an estate sale, they had a set that was for really inexpensive. And I thought, my gosh, I have to get the older one as well. So you can see the difference between the old and the new. So I got another set, and I thought, okay, now I have 2 sets. The girls can't fight over it. Each get one. Easily accessible for entertaining, right across from the pantry. We set up this bar area, dry bar area, where the kids can get drinks and run in and out. We have kids here all the time. But I also set up a formal bar where I have a lot of my grandmother's crystal. Again, my grandmother set very formal tables, and I was fortunate enough to receive some of the items from her. But I've even added to that over time, like Madison, which is a phenomenal store here in Dallas in Highland Park Village. They were having a warehouse sale, and I went and I got these beautiful, crystal glasses. Can you hear that? My mom and grandmother always said, if you cling it, it's crystal, and you can hear it. If it's not, it's glass. But I've added to the collection over time to make it colorful, so you can see a lot of greens and yellows and pinks, and I like to have a very colorful layered table. This is where we put some of our everyday glasses, and then I've got some of the opaline glasses up on top, which I got from KRB NYC in New York, except for the blue ones I purchased at Round Top when I was there antiquing. But again, you can see I mix high and low. You've got silver here, you've got drink stirrers, you've got cocktail napkins here at any time. These are from Cheffany. She makes the most adorable cocktail napkins. I got those at Madison as well. I think I got this wicker rattan tray. I don't know. I think I got it at Marshall's home store on sale. This was like $12. And then on here, like this ice bucket was my mom's. This is recent. I think this is from Two's Company. You can see the little shell toothpicks. I thought this was so cute. I had to get it for the bar area. The animal theme continues. You can see a monkey here, and I've got lemons here. So I use them for cooking or slice them up for drinks so that they're accessible and ready at any time. So this is an area I wanted to make it very intentional so I could easily grab things to set up a table very quickly. And again, with the thought being, if I can see it, I'm going to use it. I went to university, and I was always going to grow up and I was going to be a teacher. And I was a teacher for 3 years, and then was in commercial real estate, and I just wrapped up a 25-year, what I call corporate America career, and am now focusing 100% on what is my passion, which is interior design. So I've dabbled in interior design over the past several years, having remodeled 5 of my own personal homes in the last 10 years. And I've learned a lot, build relationship with tradespeople, tested and experimented with different fabrics and materials, and have been able to take from my background and what my grandmother had and what I grew up with with my mother, and what I've learned working at auction houses and with travel and studying abroad, different things along the way, to curate sort of who I am today. I always say, I've raised 2 children. I had a very busy corporate career, spent a lot of time traveling, and had this love and passion for interior design, but I was never really able to scratch that itch because I was too busy focusing on raising my children and a busy corporate day job. And so I hit some milestones this year where I turned 50. I had 25 years in corporate America, and I said, now's the time for me to scratch this itch. And I always say you can't have it all. You can have it all, you just can't have it all at the same time. And I couldn't decorate while I had my corporate career and was raising children, and so now I'm going to focus on the raising the children and my interior design career. So we're back in the solarium now, and this is another sort of closet for me, but this was formerly a greenhouse that we had cased in, and we kept these original shelves, and it's a planning area officially. It has a sink here, and I keep a lot of my vessels here. So blue and white vases. There's a white ceramic whale right here that I have some plants in. A swan that I picked up at an antique sale. A couple of these vessels I got, these tulip ones, they're newer from Coco and Dash here in Dallas. So you see a lot of different things here, but how this connects to the table that we're gonna set, I wanna pick a centerpiece. And the centerpiece I have in mind is a green frog. Again, the theme is a spring table. And I thought this frog right here would be really fun. It's a Jean Roger frog from France, and they sell them at KRB New York City as well as Ellis Hill here in Dallas. But I got this one off of the Facebook Marketplace yard sale for about $150, which is a steal because I think in the store there's something like $800 or something ridiculous. So got a fern in here from Tom Thumb, which is our local grocery store. So get an $8 fern I put in this frog, and we're gonna set him in the middle of the table and then go set the table. So let's go. So we're gonna set him down on the table here. So we've got our blue and white butterflies with this fun tablecloth from two young girls who own Gattapard Home in Washington, D.C. And then I've got my fun frog planter here with my $8 fern from Tom Thumb. All right, let's get started and set the table. All right, so where I like to start with the table, and just to make it casual and give it a layered look, I have these brown rattan placemats. I got them actually at Pier 1 Imports, I think like 5 years ago. And I think they just add a more casual touch to a more formal table and give it a bit of dimension and scale. Here are napkins that we took from the previous room. And then I'm gonna set the plates down. So these are the fun, sort of green and pink plates that were from my grandmother, the Gloria Vanderbilt plates. So I'm putting each down here. And just stacking it, the dinner plate and then the dessert plate on top of each other. All right, so we're gonna take our napkins from Marigold Home. Usually what I do is just take the napkin, fold it in back here, just sort of like this to give it an elevated look. I put it under the plate, and whatever's showing, if it's the monogram or whatever imprint, I'll put it down like that, squeeze it under the table so it makes it tight, and it's good to go. And it just makes it a little bit different, so you don't always have the napkin sitting right next to the plate, but makes it, gives it an elevated look for what is a casual dinner. I'll take this one, again, just fold it over really easily here. It's gonna get taken, thrown out anyway or cleaned up anyway, so where it creases, it doesn't matter. I am not particular about that at all. Then I'll get my forks. Let's see. And I also got, for the drinks, we're gonna do some coasters from Cheffany. I love them, I think they're fun. And I think they add they tie in with the plates. This cabbage here, very springy, it adds in another color and dimension to the table. And then the forks, the silver I just put on the outside. My rules for setting the table, there really aren't any. Anything goes. Have fun with it. So you can mix and match color patterns. This is green and pink, this is blue and white. It's okay to do that. And that's part of the curated collection that I have. You wanna layer the things that you have from different pieces, from different sets to make it more dynamic, make it more of a centerpiece, and actually make it part of a conversation of the table. The table should be part of the party in my mind, and it's just as much an item that you can decorate just as much as a room. So some of the rules I have, again, we're just doing a simple dinner. It's salad and lasagna, one fork, very easy. Here's my rule. The silverware that goes on the table should only be silverware that's going to actually be used for the meal. Don't put anything extra out. And if you're ever in doubt, like what are the rules? Are there any rules? Just go on the internet and say, where should the salad fork go? Where should the soup spoon go? There are lots of different examples out there today that show you a visual of where everything should go if you do have multiple pieces of silverware that you need to put on the table if it's a big meal. I'm lucky enough with this where it's just the fork. So next I got the salt and pepper shakers, the frogs. They sort of go with Mr. Frog over here, right? So again, keeping with the theme of spring. And again, these were vintage. I got them at an estate sale from down the street. One thing that's special for us in my family and something I collect with my girls, and we are doing a special spring dinner. because my daughter's going back to college tomorrow after she's been off on spring break. We collect these baccarat butterflies. They're pretty. They come in different colors, and I gave one to her for her high school graduation, and since have been gifting them to her, whether it's like a birthday or Christmas. And so I'm putting them out as sort of like a place card holder, although we're not going to use them because there's just 4 of us. We don't need place cards, but I like to put it at the head of the setting so it delineates that's where somebody is actually sitting at the table, so that they have a little, butterfly to be with them. Next are the glasses. I'm going to put those around. I'm going to put them on the little cabbage. Just again, it gives it some dimension. So blue glass really pops with the contrasting green cabbage below it. And then I'm going to take the little mockingbird glasses with the straws that we got in the other room, the glass ones, and put that as like the mocktail, right, that we're going to have for dinner tonight. We are not a big dessert family. We are more of like a finger food for dessert. We like sweets, we like sugar. So I got some chocolate eggs for, again, I thought they were springtime and pretty from Trader Joe's. And then also from Trader Joe's, I got some just chocolate brownies, which we like to eat. They're bite size. And again, this is another thing I got, it's an asparagus, but I use it as like a little, a place to hold brownies. It's a fun little surprise for the table, and it looks really pretty on the table. Looks like part of the table setting, but you'd think, what is it? And then you get the surprise of dessert in there. So that's gonna go in there. Then another special thing that I like to have at the place setting for us when we are having a special dinner, my daughters and I, we collect heron. I actually have been collecting it since I've been young, and I like to give one piece to my daughter as I find something throughout the year. And so I'm gonna put these around at the table heads, which somewhat delineates where they're going to sit tonight. So there's a purple one, Purple Bunny, who is the cheerleader, and my youngest daughter will get that one. So she's gonna go here, and I put it next to the butterfly. This is my oldest, Victoria's, the pink bunny. She collects the pink herons. I'm gonna put that one there with the balloons. And I'm gonna give myself the pink bunny. And then my husband, he'll get a blue one. He'll get the blue frog holding the, underneath the lily pad right there. So again, I like to add things that we collect. I like to put it on the table as decoration and really use it. So it's not just sitting on the shelves in the house, but also taking the shelves and bringing them to the table to make it really like another room. I'm gonna put that over here. I'm gonna pour some of so you can see it. You can see how these mockingbird glasses look when they have a drink in them. I'm gonna pour just pink lemonade. That's a little mocktail. So I'm gonna fill that up so it's ready to go. And then you can see how pretty they look when they're actually filled up with a drink. And you just put the straw in there. So what was, just a simple round table started with a fairly blank slate with the blue and white tablecloth. Really quickly, you can elevate the look and use different things, whether it's something that's been passed down, something I've gotten at an antique store, at a house sale, an estate sale, at auction, or that I've purchased retail. You can mix it all together. They're really, in my mind, there are no rules. You should have fun with it and have a table that's really layered and curated and colorful. And spring tables are definitely my favorite tables to curate because you can have so many different layers of these pastel colors, which I just love. And again, no rules here. Asparagus goes with the butterfly, which goes with the bunny, which goes with the frog, which goes with the $8 fern from Trader Joe's. The piece of silver that I'm going to use for the table, which again is a little bit more formal, this was passed down to me and was my grandmother's. I don't have a lot of meals where we have a need for a gravy boat. And so what I've done is repurposed what was the typical gravy boat and put the chocolate eggs in them so that we can bring what is a more formal piece to the table without actually using it for what its original use was supposed to be. So I think it's pretty, it's a shell, goes with the theme, and is colorful. So before my daughter heads back to school, she's having some friends over and some younger friends too for my younger daughter. And because it's spring, I always like to, again, set a table, make it pretty, even if it's just the pool table and getting drinks and snacks for the kids. So you can see on the table, I've got some drinks. We have more Cheffany napkins, which we love, jelly beans, and I use some of the little silver trinket dishes that were in the closet. Even with just, ice cream is gonna melt. So Trader Joe's ice cream cones with just the chocolate in here so that they get an experience of being at the pool. Yes, I have a younger one who uses the Barbie boat. Wheezy towels, I think, are fun, sunscreen, and then just some great pieces here from my favorite in Florida, Palm Beach Regency. They've got great sort of like whimsical animal ceramics that I always try and pick up when I'm down there visiting. And then these pink chairs, which were in my mother's house. So chairs, they were actually game chairs, and I leave them in here because this pink ostrich fabric is vinyl, and so it can get a little bit wet. So it adds a little bit of fun in this room. And then locally here, I always, again, like to support women-owned businesses. And my friend Caitlin Wilson has a store here in Dallas and has some really pretty, fun blue and white pillows and always incorporates bows and fun things into her decor and in her store. So pillows are a great way to change up a space in a room. They go with the towels. And so we've got some bow pillows that we've got in the pool house today for the swimming. So when my husband and I moved to Dallas 10 years ago, we were in a rush to find a house because my daughter was going to be entering 4th grade. We had a finite number of blocks that we were able to look at and homes that were actually available. So we got a home, we renovated it, and when I got to Dallas, I realized how hot it actually was, and we had no place to swim. And the house that we got, the lot was too small to put a pool. So I was on a walk, and 2 blocks away, I saw this house that needed to be renovated again, but it had a pool. It was an open house, and I just walked in, went through the house. It was being sold for lot value, and the house was just beautiful. It's a 1934 home that our architect was George Marble, and 2 families had lived in it over 80 years. And so I walked around, thought, it does need a lot of work, but I think I can do it. I think I'm up for the job. And so we bought the house, and my husband said to me, this is your decision. I think he knew, because I thought I'd have a breakdown remodeling this one and working, but we did it and we love it. It's bright, it's airy, and I think we've made it our own, and we brought it to today's living so that any family could live in it. When I'd purchased it 5 years ago, it was really sold and being marketed as a tear-down house. And when I walked by and saw it, the exterior, I thought, the neighborhood cannot lose this home. It's just too pretty. And so I wanted to pour my love and passion into restoring and maintaining this home. And it really has become a loving home for us.
Thanks for watching. Be sure to go to homeworthy.com for exclusive content, shopping guides, and so much more.